Hi, everybody. Welcome to a Monday edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza and a special broadcast, our college football preview show. The quarterfinals are set, and we thought, hey, what a better time to do it than the night before that first game of four, as college football is going to take center stage tomorrow night and all day Wednesday with a triple header. So we thought we'd have some fun with you tonight here on this Monday, December the 30th. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you had a great Christmas. I know I did, and I'm in my glory being able to talk some college football with you. We got a great show planned for you tonight. We're going to bring in our co-host here. Let's get him on the stage right now. He is the Gamble Guy, the Godfather. You see him on What Just Happened on Thursday nights at 6:30. Hefe, welcome. Merry Christmas, my friend. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Lou. Thanks for having me. It's funny. You went through all my names. I kind of do that on purpose. I'm El Hefe. I'm the Gamble Guy because I wear many hats, 4 12-ounce sports, dog, quiet. So I have to go by several names. First of all, I like that your wife didn't break the leg lamp. We just watched that movie the other night where the wife breaks the leg lamp. So it's good to see it's still intact.
That is a present I got from my mom and dad, God rest their souls, about 20 years ago. And it's funny, is that was my nightlight for when I would go out, when I had my old apartment back in the day. So that baby's gone with me. My wife won't let me have it up in the regular in the living room, but it's in the palatial studios, man. I love it. It's a great touch, man. So,
well, if you've ever seen my normal studio, it's packed to the gills because my young lady, we call them old lady, but my young lady, that kind of kitschy things I have to stuff in my office. So if you ever see, I'm not in my normal studio today. She's not feeling well. The office is upstairs. I don't want to wake her up. But my studio is packed to the gills because she walks around the house and says, "What's this doing here? Put this in your office." So I feel your pain there.
All right, we got some great games coming up starting tomorrow night. I know you've got a vested interest with your Ohio State Buckeyes. Boy, they look strong against Tennessee. Shaking off that game against our Wolverines. El Hefe, they look dominant against Tennessee. They made the Volunteers look pretty sick.
Well, don't mistake our annual loss to Michigan as weakness. I think we have to do that. I mean, if Ryan Day's in town, we're going to lose that game. So, SEC, it just means more, especially when you lose by 25. But, you and I were talking backstage, maybe Tennessee was a little overhyped. We don't know. We just saw Missouri, who's ranked. Seems like every SEC team's ranked. Yeah. They should have lost to Iowa, but Kirk Ferentz can't win a big game to save his life. But
no.
So I don't know what to draw from the Ohio State win, but I'll just say it did feel good to get a blowout win in the first round after losing the 4th year in a row to your guys.
Well, I got to tell you, you can say what you want about, maybe you talk about all the games were blowouts for the most part. Texas's win, Clemson got a garbage time touchdown late. Indiana got a couple of them late to make it look somewhat respectable. But I got to tell you, I love the format of the opening round being on the home sites. You had Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Texas, all, nostalgic settings. And I think I think that's something they have to keep.
I actually wish there were 16 teams and we had the first 2 rounds at home games because I think it brings a lot more excitement. Who wants to sit and watch yet another game at AT&T Stadium that Jerry didn't build, by the way? I think he takes credit for it as Jerry's dome, but he paid very little money towards it. When you could have home games, which is much more exciting. And if you saw my brother, the Gamble Guy, last Thursday during What Just Happened, say, these people have to stop complaining. And it's mostly ESPN guys because, they're in bed with the SEC. The first round was unbelievable. We have blowouts. Last year, we had 2 blowouts in the first round of the NFL playoffs. Yeah. Are we supposed to say, well, the Browns should have never been in? No. It's the whole point of this is so teams can have hope. We had, building up to the 12-team playoff, 3 teams every year knew they were going to make the playoffs pretty much guaranteed unless they lost 3 games. Now we have hope, and people need to stop complaining just because there's a few blowouts. I think it's a ridiculous argument.
Oh, I agree 100%, and SMU deserved to be in there. You have to keep, if you're going to have conference tournaments, you've got to preserve the sanctity of that. I mean, if you don't, then you're going to get teams opting out. They're not going to want to play, and then you're going to do away with these conference tournaments. So I am totally on board with that. It just, these teams were just better,
Yes.
What can you say?
Yes, and honestly, I think if you watched them as closely as you and I probably watched them, first of all, Indiana probably got a little bit of shell shock, and they never gave up. They made it a 10-point game at the end. SMU blew a lot of chances early in that game to make it a game. So
first series, yeah.
So it's not like it looked like a high school team playing a junior high team. It was just teams that have never been on that stage before made mistakes early and dug themselves a hole. That's going to happen. So I noticed, Captain Lou, that I didn't hear a lot of people, the national pundits who were in bed with certain conferences, say Tennessee never deserved to be there because they got blown out.
Yeah. Well, it's funny is one fellow bald-headed prognosticator from the SEC that has his own show on a 4-letter network said that Tennessee deserved to pass. And we could sit here, El Hefe, we could sit here for 2 hours. And I'm not talking about you and I. We could sit here for 2 hours and going over the schedules of all these teams. And by the way, speaking of the SEC, we're going to be joined at the bottom of the hour by Jamie Gatlin. He writes for the Longhorns Wire. He's going to join us and help us preview the Texas game against Arizona State, which is going to be an interesting matchup. By the way, speaking of that game, if you go to 12ouncesports.com/tickets, you can get lower bowl end zone seats for under $100 a piece. What a great deal. What a great way to spend New Year's Day if you're down in that area. It's crazy.
Let the masses know, Lou. Let the masses know. So we have a Texas. Okay, so he can claim SEC bias, but they're still Big 12 to me until they have about 5 years in the SEC.
Dude, they're still Southwest Conference to me. Yeah. You and I are back. We remember when they used to play with Texas Tech and Arkansas and all them in the Southwest Conference. So we'll raise that banner. We'll see if he remembers that. I think he's a little young for that, but.
Well, with all the SEC hype, we see a lot of Big 12 teams leading the SEC this year. Texas A&M, Texas, Missouri's ranked. So, I mean, maybe there's. So
let's talk about, again, some of the game. We talked about Penn State and SMU. SMU had, like you said, they had the opportunity as of their first drive, just an ill-fated pass, a decision. So does that win, in your eyes, finally get James Franklin off the, does it get him off that narrative that he can't win a big game, or does he have to win another one in this tournament so he can finally shed that narrative?
No, the ACC, I think, is 1-9 in the playoffs right now. Yeah. So no, he's not, he doesn't get a free pass that easy. However, he didn't do what I thought he might do and what Ryan Day does every week 12 of the college football season. Franklin did not coach scared. So, and I think a lot goes into that. I know he has the stigma that he can't win a big game, and that's going to go on until he wins a big game.
Right.
But typically when coaches are kind of cursed in big games, it's because they coach scared. He did not do that against SMU, so I'm going to give him a little asterisk there. Like, okay, I'm ready to give you a pass. I'm ready to get over that moniker that you can't, Mr. Small Game. But we have to see how they do against Boise State, which I'm glad that's the game tomorrow, because I was going to tell you, Lou, live on the air, that's actually my favorite matchup in round 2.
Okay. The Boise State Penn State game. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to watch. You look at Boise, Obviously they're led by Ashton Giannetti. He's got 2,497 yards on the year. Now, I was listening today on XM radio, I believe it was, and they're trying to say, please don't compare him to Barry Sanders. And they brought up Barry's numbers, 2,630 yards in an 11-game season. And now Giannetti's good, but is this something, is Penn State going to be able to contain him? That's going to be obviously the big question.
So I would like to point out Ashton Jaunty, he sat the equivalent. So they've played, how many games have they played? They've played 13 games.
Yeah.
He has sat the equivalent of 2 full games. So he's played 11 games.
Wow.
Which is very impressive because they've been, quite frankly, just steamrolling people.
Yeah.
So Jaunty's only played 11 games in my eyes, and he's got those numbers. Is he the next Barry Sanders? Nobody's going to be the next Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders had swift moves. Jaunty's kind of a bulldozer, but he doesn't have those slick, shifty moves that Barry Sanders had. That's going to be the key because I, quite frankly, think both these teams tend to get one-dimensional. So this is going to be an interesting game.
They come in. Boise State comes in an 11.5-point dog in this one. That's a lot of points. Now, again, SMU was a big dog. What were they, 8.5 against Penn State? I tend to shy away from laying points, double-digit points. I mean, I did with a couple of pro games this year, but man, this Boise State team, El Hefe, they took Oregon right to the wire in the beginning of the year. Now, I know it seems like a year ago already with the opening weekend or the second game, but boy, first glance, what do you think of that point spread at 11.5?
It's ludicrous. I would take those points all day long, and here's why. Not that I think Penn State would lose this game, but Boise State, yes, it was early in the season when Oregon also struggled against Idaho, but Boise State actually held, I believe, a 7-point lead with 8 minutes to go in that game. Mm-hmm. Oregon scored 10 minutes Oregon scored 10 points in their last 2 possessions, including a last-second field goal to win that. So I don't know what the 11 points is based off of, maybe what's happened since then, but I don't think anything that's happened since then would cry that Boise is on the downslope. I'm going to pull up their schedule for you. They beat UNLV by 14. That's a ranked team. Maybe the Oregon State game. The Wyoming game, November 23rd, was only a 4-point game. So have they been dominant? No, and that's probably where that line's coming from. But they do average 39 points a game. So, and they put up 34 on Oregon. Not a defensive juggernaut, but they also have the best running back in the nation. So I feel like that line's crazy. It's in a neutral stadium, so it's not going to be a whiteout. Penn State's not going to have an advantage. So I'm not sure where that line comes from, because if you look at Penn State, they average 35, but they do tend. I feel like they're a much better, running team than they are a passing team. Drew Aller's pretty good, but I think Boise State could kind of coerce Penn State into a grinded out game, which would keep the score low. And then all of a sudden you have an over 2 score line.
Yeah.
I like those points.
Can you believe that Drew Aller has thrown for over 3,000 yards?
In this day and age, yeah, I can believe that.
That I've watched him numerous times, and he just does not seem like the quarterback that's able to do that. But that's surprising to me. I'm with you. I'm taking the points, and I'm taking Boise. And a little bit later on, before we go tonight, I've got my teaser bet and my extravagant teaser bets that I'm going to lay on you. And I think these are I'm not going to say they're locks of the century, but they're must locks. So we're going to take a quick break, 60 seconds. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little Georgia and Notre Dame, the Golden Domers and the Dogs. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza College Football Playoff Preview Show. It's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and our YouTube channel, 12 Ounce Sports. Make sure that you subscribe to all of our to our channel for all our latest programs.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
As we welcome you back here to the Captain Lou Extravaganza and our college football playoff preview show, go to 12ouncesports.com/tickets. And El Hefe is who I welcome him back along with us. I looked at the ticket prices for that Penn State game against Boise. End zone seats, you can get them lower bowl, $80 a piece.
That's incredible.
That's insane. I mean, it's great prices. I mean, we were talking about the Lions games, before we went on the air. The Lion game Sunday on our website, they're going for upper deck for almost $5 a piece. And it's, these are great matchups. So go to 12ouncesports.com/tickets. And again, use the promo code 12ounce too. And $80 a piece, man. I got to tell you those are great seats. That's great prices.
Here's how transparent we are real quick on our ticket platform. So we are a ticketing agency, tickets.12ouncesports.com, but we say 12ouncesports.com/tickets because we give you an alternative, which is Vivid. If you click the link, we do get credit. But I've told you this backstage. My girlfriend bought Penn State Ohio State wrestling tickets for her son for Christmas. After you got to the checkout point, we were $30 cheaper. The sites like Vivid and Game Time don't show you their fees until you're ready to pay them. We show our fees right up front, so we often look like we're more. And then the other thing, folks, if you're watching, I see we have viewers. We're small grassroots. I'm sitting in my living room. I'm not in some high rise in New York City. We looked up Cavs tickets this morning. We were $7 more, but we're not a $1 billion organization. So I mean, that's my point. I mean, come on.
But we are, like you said, a ticket broker. We don't charge those exuberant fees you see at the end. That's tickets.or 12ouncesports.com/tickets. All right, let's get to the Golden Domers and the Dogs. Two significant injuries in this game, El Hefe. Of course, Georgia, Carson Beck is done. He's out. He's declared for the draft, which we could spend a half hour on that. I think that's a mistake, but what do I know? But on the Notre Dame side, they're going to be their edge rusher, and I can't remember his first name, Mills. He's out. So that's big. Two significant injuries on each side. I got to tell you, that's a Notre Dame team that I was surprised how well they played against Indiana. I've been one that has been said they've been overrated because their schedule to me was not tough. But boy, oh boy, they play like that. I think they're going to give Georgia everything they want.
I actually love this Notre Dame team. I have a couple friends that's their favorite team. I'm a closeted Notre Dame fan. I am Irish, as we all know. Here's what scares me, because Carson Beck being out obviously hurts Georgia, but Georgia's not a quarterback university. Georgia is, they come out, they're intense, they hit you hard, and they wear you down. We saw that against Alabama. Even though they lost to Alabama, they were getting absolutely just whacked. But they're like a tick. You can't get rid of them. I think Alabama was beating them by 28 or 30, and they made a game of it, and it had to come down to a crazy play at the end. That's what I worry about with Notre Dame, because Notre Dame let Indiana kind of make that look like a game last time, 2 weeks ago. I almost said last week, but it's going to be about 10 days. That's the thing about Georgia, though. They're not a quarterback team. And they're a team, they're just gritty and they're mean and they're rough. And they will not, you can't get them to submit. And that's what I worry about, because I do love this Notre Dame team. I don't think I said it on the air. I think I said it in the 12 Ounce Sports chat that Notre Dame is my secret or my sleeper pick in this playoff. Because if they get by Georgia, I'm telling you, Notre Dame's a threat to the rest of the teams in this tournament. But I fear for Notre Dame and you Notre Dame fans, because Georgia's just one of those weird teams. If you look at their schedule, they're like Jekyll and Hyde. Like they barely beat Georgia Tech. They beat Texas, which is a great team. But, they get blown out by Mississippi. Like, I can't get a read on Georgia, but that's what I keep pinpointing. I'll let you take over, but I keep pinpointing the fact is I don't know how much Notre Dame can get up to feel safe ever, because this Georgia team will not back down.
No, that's the one thing, pedigree means a lot when you get into these situations, and, Georgia's got it. They've been there, a lot of people, including their coaching staff, thinks that they got job not getting into the playoff last year when it was a 4-team deal. But here's my thing. I think the Notre Dame ground game, in my opinion, is going to be the difference in this game against Georgia. They're averaging over 200 yards a game. And you got Jeremiah Love, who's over 1,000 yards. And I think he's on, everybody hears about Riley Leonard, and he's played well. Obviously, if you make it this far, you got to have good quarterback play. But I love Jeremiah Love. And I think it's no pun intended. And I think he's going to be the difference in this one against Georgia. And I am a believer in Notre Dame after watching that game against Indiana, because El Hefe, it was like they toyed with the Hoosiers. And I really thought the Hoosiers, that was my upset special. I thought the Hoosiers were going to beat them. And I was sadly mistaken. And that game was not even close.
No. It wasn't. It looked close with the score.
Yeah.
So the reason I do like Notre Dame in this game, if I were to pick them, I'm not making my pick yet, I know it's a close line, is they average 75 more yards rushing per game. And we know, okay, Georgia's backup came in the SEC title game and made a few plays. Has he had to play 4 quarters in a high-pressure situation yet? No. Yeah. So what's a quarterback to do when he's thrust in that position? He's going to want to run more than he wants to throw. So I think Notre Dame's rushing defense versus Georgia's rushing defense, again, we're going to have a Penn State, Boise State situation here where I think we have a grinded out game. And I think it's going to be a close game late in the fourth quarter, and you have a backup quarterback. Okay, again, he got some exposure against Texas, but he didn't really change that game against Texas. No. He wasn't a game changer. So I think Notre Dame has probably been working on exploiting that backup quarterback. And that's why I like Notre Dame in this. Although I think Notre Dame's going to have to play 4 solid quarters. They can't repeat what they did against Indiana.
Gunnar Stockton is the backup quarterback that's going to be thrust into that spotlight. He's a sophomore, and it's obviously that is one of the keys. And I don't know if Notre Dame's defense gets enough credit either. Georgia's defense is always going to be solid. So, but I'm with you. I like Georgia in this, or I like Notre Dame in this one. I think it's going to be it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 1-score game. I think it's going to be somewhere along the neighborhood of 28-24 or, 27-24, that kind of a game. And it's going to come down to maybe turnovers. But that's the other thing. I think these two teams are very disciplined. And so it's 2 very talented squads. This is going to be a fun game to watch. I believe this is the last one on New Year's night. So might have to take a nap somewhere New Year's Day so I can stay up to watch this, because obviously to me the best game is going to be the Rose Bowl. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Well, I hate to disappoint the young kids, but I think this is going to be like a 20-17 old school. It's hard to watch at times, a lot of punts. I could be wrong. I mean, pressure burst pipes. This could turn out to be a shootout. Who knows? But I'm seeing a low score because look at the teams Georgia's played that kind of plays Notre Dame style. Texas likes to run the ball. Kentucky runs the ball. Kentucky game was 13-12. Texas 30-15. They beat them. But they had Carson Beck. They were able to get off the passing game when they didn't have a passer. 22-19, right? Only beat Tennessee by 14. So, the whole backup quarterback situation is what is swaying me to Notre Dame. I know I said Notre Dame was my sleeper, but if Carson Beck was in this game, I would have a probably totally different opinion. But I'm seeing like a 20-17 game here.
I honestly think even if Carson Beck was in this game, I'd still pick Notre Dame. Because you brought up a great point. Georgia's not quarterback driven.
No.
And, so I almost forgot that Stockton's going to be, at quarterback. I just overall like Notre Dame's team. I think they've been more consistent towards the end of the year. And, I don't know. I think that they've got the talent to beat Georgia. And there's another SEC team that's involved in the playoff. We're going to talk about them shortly. Just want to remind everybody that coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be joined by Jamie Gatlin from Longhorns Wire. He covers the Texas Longhorns for the Longhorns Wire, obviously. And we're going to get his SEC perspective as they take on Arizona State. We'll talk more about Oregon and Ohio State, but since we got a couple of minutes, I want to kind of just bring that up because that to me, actually, let's put that on the table for a minute. I forgot to ask you this, and I want to go back to this because this has been talked about even when they announced the games. Do we need to tweak the system and either reseed it or not give automatic buys for the conference champions? Should we just go by rankings? What do you think about retweaking the playoffs? I love the opening round format. We talked about that. What do you think about retweaking it, reseeding?
Well, as the young buck in 1992 playing for Mount Union, we traveled to Dayton, who the year before was a 1AA team and then dropped to Division III, and then we kicked the crap out of them. We had 16 teams on a shoestring budget. So I don't think there should be automatic bids.
Okay.
It should be ranking appropriate. And B, I think we should have 16 teams. I said Thursday. Well, I'm sorry. My brother, Gamble Guy, said Thursday, there shouldn't be buys. Nobody should get a buy in the college football playoff. I think we need 16 teams. I think we're getting there. I think that's going to happen. I think. But the automatic buy doesn't seem fair because, Boise State, really good team, took Oregon to the wire. But why are they more deserving than anybody else that had to play a first-round game to get a bye? They didn't play nearly the tough schedule that Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, Tennessee played. So why did they get the bye? I mean, you could argue Boise State's toughest game was their only loss, but they got a bye.
Well, here's my thing, and we'll talk to Jamie Gatlin about this here shortly, is Penn State and Texas, in my opinion, they got a better draw than Oregon and Georgia, and they won their conference championship games. I mean, Oregon, their reward is they're going to play a team that I think they're going to lose to in Ohio State, who's damn good right now, and Georgia gets Notre Dame. I mean, that's the flaw. Nothing's perfect. And it sounds like they're open to retweaking it, which I think they need, or tweaking it. But Texas, to me, got a great draw, even though they lost twice to Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't make any sense that, like you said, the path of least resistance went to some of the teams that, I mean, I understand. Okay, Penn State played SMU. They were the 6th seed, but the 3rd seed shouldn't be Boise State. It probably should have been somebody else. So
Yeah.
that's where the flaw is. The second round is where the flaw is. I think the first round matchups were right. But again, if you went 16 teams, I think we alleviate all these problems. Nobody gets a bye, and it's just purely seeded based on, merit.
I am all about the conference winners getting a berth. I mean, you got to reward them somehow. I mean, in the Power 4 plus the Group of 5 or whatever, and I'm all about that, but again, your point is well taken. Boise State, God love them. They're a great story, but no, I mean, them getting a 3 seed and, Arizona State, you talk about a fun story there, picked 18th in the Big 12 in the preseason poll. That's amazing to me at the story that they had. And, but yeah, I'm with you 100% on that one. I think that they need to tweak that just a little bit. I would love to see 16 teams. Us old guys, we've been saying it, 1AA does 32 teams. Division II does 32 teams. Don't tell me they worry about academics. That used to be the big argument. Remember that?
Didn't mean anything. No.
Especially now with NIL. Oh, my God.
When did Ohio State win the title with Cardale Jones when he tweeted out, "I'm not here to play school"? I mean, 1992, I won't name the player, but in 1992, the starting quarterback where I went to school in Division III never showed up to math class, but he was never ineligible. So we could do 16 teams. They're not going to miss class.
All right, let's now bring in our special guest here for the show. Excited to bring him on. Jamie Gatlin's joining us from the Longhorns Wire. Jamie, first of all, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy holidays to you guys as well.
Hey, appreciate you taking time out to be with us. So, all right, I'm going to put you right from the frying pan into the fire. First question. I've never been the biggest Steve Sarkisian fan. I think that he's rode a lot of coattails. Do you think winning that Clemson game kind of takes him off that he sheds that coach that never has won the big game?
Yeah, I think that was big for him, especially with how I feel like Clemson did a good job of kind of limiting the Longhorns receivers. You had Helm, who led them with 6 receptions. Other than that, Golden was the only other wideout with 2 catches, and you really had to look at getting the running backs going, getting a whole team effort. I think that was just an impressive one, especially that was a Clemson team that showed some fight. Giving up 24 points wasn't the greatest day for the Longhorns defense, but they found ways to win, especially with using everyone on the roster. A guy like Jalen Blue had injuries this year. He had fumbling issues at times. He rushed for over 100. It was good to see kind of that depth pay off.
Yeah, so Texas moves on. They've got Arizona State coming up this weekend. That it's going to be it's an interesting matchup. El Hefe and I were talking about it. We still don't think of Texas as being in the SEC. Heck, we still think of them being in the Southwest Conference back in the glory days. But my next question: you got an Arizona State team along with Boise. Do you think that they really deserve to be a double-digit underdog to Texas?
I think it's going to be close to that. Especially we saw Leavitt today with kind of talking some smack, saying he doesn't know who can stop them, which I found that entertaining, just seeing that between the schools. I think it's going to be closer. I could see this being a 7-point game or kind of in that range. I feel like it's going to be hard fought. These offenses are going to, test each other. I'm excited to see just kind of how, Arizona State tries to limit Ewers and the running backs, and also, how Texas tries to limit Arizona State.
How's the health of Quentin? How is Ewers' health? Is he holding up okay? He's been pretty banged up this year.
Yeah, it sounds like he'll be good to go on Wednesday. It is. They do have Cameron Williams, one of his, linemen, and that could be a little problematic if he misses time. But I think Ewers is going to go out there. He's going to gut it out. He wants to lead this team. I feel like especially we've seen, Arch had some good moments, so Ewers is going to want to be in there for the big wins and lead them unless they have to tear him off the field. He has to go off on a stretcher.
What do you think of Arch Manning? Is he going to be in Texas next year?
I think he will be. I'm very interested to see if Ewers enters the draft. If he doesn't, if he transfers. I know he's been linked to Notre Dame. feel like he's a guy who could benefit from, another year in college football. But I think you saw what Arch could do this year in the small sample sizes. And I just don't know how long you can sit him. So I think that's going to be interesting to see, especially say Texas loses on Wednesday. It's going to be those questions are going to be flying, all right, what's next? You enter the draft, you're going to stay at Texas. That's going to be kind of the theme of the next couple of weeks.
El Hefe here he's our resident Notre Dame. Well, he's an Ohio State guy, but he's also loves Notre Dame. Did you hear that? You could have Quentin Ewers wearing the Golden Dome next year?
Let's calm down a little bit. I'm an Ohio State guy. I graduated from Purdue. I said I'm a closeted Notre Dame fan.
Okay, closeted. All right.
Yeah, because I'm Irish. But I'm gonna toggle the view here for just. Oh no, that's terrible. I'm sorry, Lou. You're like hiding on screen. I couldn't see.
Yeah, I got to move over a little bit. There we go.
That would be interesting. You're saying which one were you saying? Manning or Ewers might go to Notre Dame?
I saw Ewers was kind of linked to Notre Dame earlier today.
Can this guy stay at one school? What's going on?
I know he's doing a little tour of the college's campus around the country, but he picks fun. He picks fun places to be. Got to give him that.
Well,
that's true.
I fell for the rumor that Arch Manning was going with Bill Belichick, so I'm gullible for anything, man.
Oh wow.
I mean, UNC looks a lot better right now with Bill. I feel like that'd be interesting for a college recruit to get a call from Bill Belichick and be like, "Hey, can we have a conversation?"
So, all right, I got to ask you. You're an SEC guy. What did you think of the opening round of the playoffs? And did you think that Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina deserve to be in instead of SMU and Indiana? And well, we won't say Tennessee because they got boat race too. But what's your take on the argument that maybe Alabama and South Carolina or Ole Miss should have been in?
I feel like South Carolina, Alabama should have been in. I feel like it was interesting to see the first year of the seeding. There's going to be those conversations, especially going to it next year. How do you perfect it? I do feel like South Carolina, Alabama were better teams. So I feel like they kind of did deserve to kind of be in there. So,
okay, in that regard, then what about the sanctity of the conference championship games? I mean, it's so. In that case, SMU probably shouldn't have played in that conference championship game. That's the only thing that I worry about for not letting somebody like SMU in.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like it's, you saw that more this year with the first year of them doing the seeding. Yeah. I liked watching SMU a lot this year. I feel like they were a fun team. So it would have been fun to kind of see them in that, in that spotlight.
So.
Well, if we were to pick a team that didn't make their conference championship that made the playoffs, all right. So we have Ohio State and Indiana didn't make the Big Ten title. So then you have South Carolina and Alabama didn't make the SEC title. Of those four teams, which were the two best teams? Because I don't think you can take Alabama and South Carolina in that scenario. So you could argue that maybe, Indiana didn't deserve to be in. I don't think you can argue Ohio State didn't deserve to be in. So I don't think South Carolina and Alabama would have made it. You have to pick one of the two. So if I had an opinion, I would take South Carolina because South Carolina was one bad call away from one less loss. Whereas Alabama, I can't get over the fact that they got absolutely steamrolled by Oklahoma and they lost to Vanderbilt, which used to be a joke, but Vanderbilt's they're a little bit better than they used to be. But I would have to agree with Jamie on the fact that South Carolina probably deserved to be in over Indiana, but I don't think I'm not on board with the Alabama argument.
Yeah, I feel like Alabama was a tough team. I was kind of on the fence with them. I could see that going kind of either way in that regard.
So what's the biggest thing that Texas needs to be worried about against Arizona State coming up on Wednesday?
I would say protecting Ewers. I feel like with Cameron Williams being a game-time decision, he's projected to be a first-round pick along with Kelvin Banks. He's really big to the offensive line. So if you can disrupt the pass game, that would, I feel like that would hurt the Longhorns a lot, especially we saw a lot good from the running stuff last week. But as I said, like Jaden Blue hasn't been that good all year. It was great to see him kind of dominate. But, it's a lot to ask to do that again, especially with higher stakes. So I feel like if you can limit Ewers and put the pressure on the running game and be like, if you guys are going to beat us, you're going to have to drop another 200 yards and kind of pound the ground that way. That I think would make life difficult for the Longhorns, especially if you have it again. Helm's the only guy getting the touches, and you have Golden and Wingo not really doing much in the passing game.
If you would have told me that when Sam Leavitt was at Michigan State as a quarterback, he would be in the college football playoff, I'd have said you're nuts, especially going to Arizona State. All of a sudden, Michigan State's this cradle of quarterbacks. Does he pose any kind of threat to you from the Texas defensive side of the ball?
Not really. I feel like the pass rush. I mean, I feel like the Longhorns pass. They have so many. You have Colin Simmons. You have so many guys on that defense that can hurt you. I feel like they're just going to overwhelm Arizona State. It was good to see the smack talk today. I love those increased stakes, them going back and forth on social media. I forget what your response to it was. But I kind of love seeing that chippy side, but I don't see a scenario when he, throws for 350 yards, lights up the defense. We're coming away from Wednesday night this guy just dominated, and there's no way that they could stop him.
So we were talking before you came on, Jamie, about how Texas benefited with, in my opinion, with the way the seeding is right now, where they don't reseed. I mean, they got beat by Georgia twice. Now, the second game was very close, and they get the opportunity. They played a Clemson team that barely got in, and now they get a Arizona State team. Boy, I tell you, I don't think that's going to happen next year. I think they're going to either reseed or not give automatic buys to the conference champions. What do you think?
I agree with that. I feel like the automatic buys it makes life a lot more difficult, easy for those teams. I mean, I would have not liked to see them and see the higher stakes, especially you talked about Texas and Georgia. That was probably the Longhorns' hardest matchup this year, and that did not, go well both times. So I feel like, redoing the seeding would be fun to see. And I think that could answer a lot more questions. Say they played Georgia earlier, just about this Texas team and having that tougher matchup.
So give me your prediction. What's going to be the final score of the game Wednesday between Texas and Arizona State?
I'm feeling 27-20.
Wow, close game, huh?
Pretty close. I think it's going to be the Longhorns defense that makes a big stop. I feel like Arizona State will have the ball last. It's going to be coming to a pick, sack, one of those things to stop them. I think it's going to be, again, the run game. I think yours will have 180 yards, 200. I think you'll have an okay night. But I feel like, again, they're going to have to lean on Jaden Blue and kind of those guys to repeat what they did and just tire out that Sun Devils defense, and get big stops in the fourth quarter.
I think it's going to be a one-score game too. I'm taking Arizona State in the points. I just think that's ludicrous. What is it, 13.5? Is that what I got here? 13.5 is or 12.5 as of right now. Man, that's a lot of points. El Hefe, what do you think?
That line's there for a reason. I disagreed with the big line before. I'm gonna pinpoint a few things here. So Leavitt's best games was a loss to Texas Tech, who's putrid. He had 282 yards passing, but Scatabo had 117 of those receiving yards out of the backfield. His best passing game of the season was against Oklahoma State, who's a joke. He had 304 yards passing, 121 to Scatabo. Something tells me if Texas just keys on Scatabo, Arizona State has no answer. I think Texas is going to win this. It's going to get ugly. I think it's going to be like 42-10. I mean,
oh my goodness, you're scaring me now.
I don't see a close game in this one at all. Arizona State's a one-trick pony. You can look at the stats. The only time their quarterback had over 200 yards passing, he was throwing to Scatabo out of the backfield. You don't think Texas is going to just key on that and stop that? I mean, come on.
Wow.
Yeah. If I'm looking at the Longhorns game plan, that's the one guy I'm going to say take him out of the game, and our lives going to be a lot easier for those.
Yes. Those and on the flip side, can Arizona State's defense slow down this Texas offense? It's possible. They're pretty good. I mean, what's the most they gave up? They gave up 28 to Texas State. I mean, they're scary. They gave up 31 to Kansas, and then they gave up 31 to Central Florida. Those are their worst defensive games. So I think the Longhorns scoring 42 on them is probably not far-fetched.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I think this is. You said you were bringing a Texas guest on. I laughed because this is my least favorite game of the second round because I don't think it's going to be close.
Well, I think it's going to be a one-score game too. I don't know. There's just something about I like the 27-20 pick. I could see it being more like a 31-24 pick, but I don't know. I think we're all in agreement that Texas is going to win. I just think Arizona State's going to cover. Jamie, before I let you go, I would be remiss without asking you this. From your baseball, that you cover baseball for the Red Sox, how in the hell did they sign Walker Buehler?
I don't know. That was one of the biggest surprises for me this year. I feel like Crochet was kind of the way they've been connected to him over the last year. I wasn't surprised by that. I mean, I was hoping for Burns or someone you could stick more at that too, more of a top echelon guy. If they get the Buehler of the postseason, they're going to be fine, and that's going to look like a steal. And he's going to, be a free agent again next year and make a lot of money. So, I was surprised by that. I think they're kind of looking at it like if we get the best out of him, we're going to look really smart. The baseball nerds are going to get a lot of validation, but it also, Buehler isn't the same guy he was 5 years ago, or at least he hasn't been in the regular season. So that's going to be fun to watch. But it's just with the intensity that I did in the World Series, people at Fenway are going to like him very easily.
Well, they're only paying him $5 million more than Detroit's paying Alex Cobb, so I think they got a good deal. Jamie, thanks for joining us tonight on the show. Good luck for your Longhorns against Arizona State, and hope to catch up with you again real soon. Maybe we'll have you back on the show when we get closer to baseball season starting. We'll talk a little Red Sox.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Jamie Gatlin from the Longhorns Wire joining us here tonight. We're going to take a break. We come back, we're going to talk Ohio State, Oregon, and then we're going to give you our picks, and I'm going to give you my teasers and my extravagant teasers. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza College Football Preview Show. It's live here on 12 Ounce Sports. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, 12 Ounce Sports. All of our shows are on there, all the live events that we've got, everything. We've got so much fun stuff coming up. It's all here on 12 Ounce Sports. Don't go anywhere.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Again, we want to reiterate that you can get tickets for that Texas game at the Peach Bowl against Arizona State, lower bowl, $80, $90 a piece. That just is mind-boggling for such a big game. Go to 12ouncesports.com/tickets. Use the promo code 12ounce and you'll get an even better deal on it. And it's a great way to spend New Year's Day. Great way to cure a New Year's Eve hangover too, by the way.
Hey, you can get upper corner for $30 each. I'm looking at it right now. You can go to the Peach Bowl and watch a playoff game for $30 on tickets.12ouncesports.com or 12ouncesports.com/tickets. The price is lowering, by the way.
It's absolutely amazing, but it's affordable.
And if they use the promo code 12OZ, they get 5% more off because we're feeling generous around the holidays. There you go.
That's awesome. El Hefe's joining us here as we roll on our preview show. We've got one more big game to talk about, and of course, that's the granddaddy of them all, the one that we always look forward to. Us old timers, that back then, you waited 6 weeks to watch the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. It's Ohio State and it's Oregon. How apropos is that, huh?
It's so funny. You said we used to wait. Did you hear my rant or my brother's rant Thursday night?
Yeah, I did.
The way they used to do the national champ was comical now. Like
Yeah.
you used to wait 6 weeks to watch two teams play two different bowl games, and then writers got to decide who looked better against the crappy team they played. Like what?
Oh, it was all those years watching Ohio State and Michigan play, and then more often than not, it was either UCLA or USC, and it was always USC. Once in a while, Washington would sneak in, and that was back even. I can remember before Arizona and Arizona State were in. It was back when it was the Pac-8. Then they came in. So I'm dating myself now, but this is an old-fashioned Rose Bowl matchup, and ironically enough, a rematch of earlier in the year, October 12th, I believe it was. The only reason I can remember that is that was my bonus son's wedding day. We watched that at the wedding reception. We watched this game as we were having some adult beverages that night. And what a game that was. It came down to the last drive, and maybe a little clock management issue. But this is setting up to be a dandy. Obvious to me, the best game of the weekend.
It's the best game of the weekend. You know where I was, Lou? We were in Montana broadcasting the Montana Lacrosse League and Battle of the Borders. So I was sitting at the broadcasters table cheering. Like the crowd was looking at me like, what is this guy cheering about? There's no game going on right now. I just want to point out the door, because this is fees included.
Yeah.
You can go to the Rose Bowl for $164.41. Wow. You tell me that's cheaper somewhere else, I'd be surprised to see 100%. This game.
I'm sure I could ask people that have gone to the Rose Bowl 10 years ago to watch Michigan State play Stanford. I bet you they paid more for a ticket than that. Honestly,
probably $500.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So we've got Dylan Gabriel and you've got Will Howard. That's the quarterback matchup. Will Howard looked pretty damn good, a hell of a lot better than he did against Michigan. I think he was concussed against Michigan, and I think that kind of altered their play style. But I look at this game and I think, the chip on their shoulder is going to be there for Ohio State because I think they thought that they had that game won in October.
They did. The problem is trying to decipher who's the better team is so Oregon, I think, benefited from home field advantage a little bit. They won the fourth quarter 10-3. But if you look at the stats, Ohio State had 4 more first downs. Oregon had 23 more yards that last drive. About even passing, 326, 341, about even rushing, 141, 155. The difference was turnovers and penalties. Ohio State had 5 more penalties for 55 more yards, and they had 2 turnovers to Oregon's no turnovers. This is about as even a matchup as we have in round 2. Did Ohio State have that game won in early in the season? Yeah, maybe they did, but they've completely changed since then, except for the Tennessee game, which I think Chip Kelly probably told Ryan Day, turn your headset off when we're on offense and shut the hell up because I'm taking over. Because after that Oregon game, it seems like Ohio State got really conservative and really worried and really scared, but then they woke back up against Tennessee. So I'm going to go through the schedule here. They played a bunch of cupcakes, right? Yeah. Michigan State, they didn't look great early. I got to look after the loss. Iowa, they beat 35-7. They were probably a little bit, or no, after the loss. Nebraska, Nebraska. Yeah. They barely beat Nebraska. They barely beat Penn State, but they were ranked. They beat Purdue 45-0, but that was like Purdue's best loss of the year. They were losing to Northwestern late in the second quarter. And then they woke up against Indiana, but then they went back to being scared against Michigan. So Vegas is typically not wrong. They have a 2.5-point line, but I think it's going to come down to will Ohio State come out aggressive? Because that game that they played against Oregon was an instant classic. When was that? What was the date of that? Was that
October
September?
12th.
They've been they got a little bit conservative after that, and I think they're coming out of their show again. If they are as aggressive as they were in the first Oregon matchup, if they're as aggressive as they were against Tennessee, I think Ohio State's a better team on paper. But who knows what's going to happen? They definitely have the better defense.
Yes,
so,
that's going to be the difference right there.
Yeah, I mean, you can go pound for pound quarterback Gabriel versus Howard. I think that's a wash. Speed, I think that's a wash. I think the difference here is I think the Ohio State has the better defense. They didn't show it in this first matchup. They gave up 32 points, but I think their offense also has the better weapons. That's just my opinion.
Well, I still think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Oh, yeah.
The over-under is 55.5. That's the one that I would lean more towards. I'm more confident in taking the over because I think they're both – I just think it's going to come down to, again, the team with the ball last is probably going to win. But I'm going with the Buckeyes. And I know my dad and my grandfather are probably rolling in their grave with me saying it, but it's hard to beat a team twice. And I think I honestly think that loss to Michigan woke Ohio State up, and it just lit a fire under their ass that I wasn't that impressed with Oregon against Penn State in the Big Ten championship game, their defense especially. The way that Ohio State manhandled Penn State, to me, that's the difference right there. And I think
so. I think you might win. So a few Ohio State insiders here in Ohio that I pay attention to. There's some rumblings around Columbus that for the Tennessee game, Chip Kelly. It sounded like I was tongue in cheek, but there's actual rumors out of Columbus that Chip Kelly's told Ryan Day, "Don't weigh in on the offense. Let me just do what I do." And they looked a lot more aggressive against Tennessee. So, best of both worlds as an Ohio State Buckeyes fan. I want to see the defense of the Penn State game, and I want to see the offense of the first Oregon game. But like you said, this is going to be a shootout. It's the Rose Bowl. It's the second round. Things happen. The floodgates open. But I think you're going to see a similar score. I think it's going to be about 35-31. I like the Buckeyes to get redemption.
I think I'm picking the Buckeyes to cover. All right. So you and I differ on the score of the Texas-Arizona State game.
Yeah, drastically.
Quite largely. Yeah. I think we're both in line on Notre Dame and Georgia. I think we're both going with the Irish. Mm-hmm. And then the Penn State-Boise game, I think we're both in line with that one. I think we both think Penn State's going to win. But I
like the under.
Okay. And I'm taking Boise in the points.
Okay.
So, all right. This brings me to my first teaser.
We can go over on time, Lou, unless you got to get to bed. But.
No. Let's go over. You're good. All right. Let's go. This is the 6-point teaser, the basic one you see on all the betting sites. My bookie. So I'm taking Boise plus 17.5. Texas minus 6.5 on this one. And I'm taking Ohio State plus 3.5. And I'm taking Notre Dame plus 7. For this 4-team teaser, it's plus 280.
You can get plus 280 on those?
Plus 280 if you do all 4.
Oh, I think that's golden right there.
I do too. I like it. I'm going to put
that's good money.
Couple of pizza pies on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only one you got me scared, but Texas, I think, that's a 6-point teaser.
So, no, I shouldn't have you scared on the Texas one. I think Texas is going to blow Arizona State out. You're safe on the minus 6.5.
Okay. I was going to go with the point. I'm not touching, as a rule, I don't lay double-digit points. I'm not touching it, the regular money line. but I think Texas is going to win by a touchdown at least. So
I think your biggest threat here, because Boise State, Penn State, and unless I'm proven wrong tomorrow night, I think that's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's two teams that want to grind it out and play defense. I think your biggest threat is Notre Dame, even though I like Notre Dame.
Okay.
Because if this backup from Georgia actually comes out and lights it up like Tua did for Alabama as a backup,
oh my God,
it catches us all off guard. Who knows? But if the things that happen that should happen on paper, Notre Dame +7, I think is a lock. I like this teaser here.
That's the 6-point one. Obviously, you can go 7, you can go 10, whatever. But here's what I call my extravagant teaser. And this is one that, so you can go, I go as far as you can with these. And I might, so Arizona State +23.5.
That's
Ohio
where I
State,
have you. That's where I have you scared, Arizona.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Ohio State +9, Boise +23, Notre Dame +11.5. You can get this at +154.
Holy cow. You know who's going to break your heart?
Arizona State.
Because I said 42-10 earlier.
I know.
That's why you got scared.
I know. I might have to switch that back because I think if you do it the other way, well, Texas is money line, and I don't have my phone with me. It's upstairs. No wonder why I'm not getting dings on my computer.
I mean, if truth be told, sometimes I get boisterous, but 42-10 in a playoff, I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, that's a big line, 23.5. Even if I was slightly wrong, 31-10, you make it.
Yeah. I'm not I think Texas is going to win. Okay. Outright by a touchdown. Quinn Ewers is banged up and his decision-making has been a little suspect. Now, to your point, Arizona State, Leavitt's not exactly, he's not the second coming of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning by any stretch. But the decision-making of Texas is on offense, I think, is why I think Arizona State can stay within this margin.
It just so happens that Texas's backup quarterback is in a lineage of Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. And Texas can play defense. I'd say if you look at this final 8 teams, as much as college football is high flying, high scoring, we have a lot of good defenses. Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, and Georgia, and you could say Notre Dame, all really stout. They can shut you down defenses. So big lines might work in your favor if you're picking the right side of the big line.
So what's going to be your munchie of choice for watching football on New Year's Day?
New Year's Day, we're probably going to have the missus and I a ton of leftover sauerkraut and pork, and we mentioned that we don't eat enough of that. Why don't we eat this year round? I don't understand why we don't eat sauerkraut and pork year round. It's good. It's good for you, and it tastes good. So I'll probably have sauerkraut and pork and hopefully some pumpkin pie or something. What about you?
Well, New Year's Day is kind of a funny story. We have to go furniture shopping. And so, because we've had some issues with this brand new furniture set, but on the way home, we have a favorite place near our house, about 20 minutes away, that serves the best Chicago style pizza.
Ooh,
we're getting a stuffed Chicago. We're going to go to this restaurant. It's called Clavon's. It's to die for, and we'll never finish it. So we'll go there for like a late lunch. That'll get us home in time for the Rose Bowl. And that'll be it for me. I'll just graze on that all night.
yeah.
And,
Chicago style is hard to beat. There's a place 40 minutes south of me called the Denison Yard that makes this deep dish Chicago. I mean, honestly, Lou, years ago I went with someone and we got a large, which is 8 pieces, and neither one of us could get 2 pieces down. So I had leftovers for like 3 days.
That's how it is with this. It's amazing. That's we'll get a salad to split there just to make our, to ease our conscience a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll stuff ourselves on that. So I got to ask you this question. Okay. I wish I could, before we go, one NIL question. You and I talked about it before on the show, how just it's baffling what it's gotten to. Did you happen to see what the Texas Tech player got for his deal? $700,000 right out of the chute. 3 cars for his family, tickets, airfare, the whole 9 yards to every game, and his family gets the right to choose if he gets injured when he comes back to play. I wish I could remember the guy's name.
Can you text me when you get the link to that? That's a what just happened moment. We need to have that on the show.
I will. I saw it on Facebook, but I know it's on social media. I will find that and I will text it to you. I was just floored by that, and it harkened me back. It's funny because we had, Jamie Gatlin on. We talked about yours, about how his deal that he signed with your favorite team without even playing a down. And then he never even, then he went back to Texas. And now it's just, oh my God, it is getting so out of hand now.
And then, so just a little teaser for what just happened on Thursday. We're going to talk about Cam Ward at halftime saying, well, I broke the record, so I'm going to sit out the second half. I'm going to opt out of the second half. They used to opt out of bowl games. Now they're opting out of halves. And then the news broke today that apparently back in February, like 6 or 7 Florida State basketball players
saw that.
Boycotted a practice because they said the coach had promised each of them $250,000 and hadn't been paid yet. Like this is classic what just happened.
Did they get a contract for this? That they don't do contracts, do they?
No. And then I saw a friend of 12 Ounce Sports, a friend of the network, Memphis Spence. He owns a radio station.
Yeah.
Had, posted a link today of an article that I think the governing bodies are going to try to get a hold of this. They're going to try to calm this down a little bit where there's going to be a cap unless it's a third party NIL contributor. So, because these colleges are just throwing money everywhere. So it's already snowballing out of control.
we could spend another hour talking about it. I get it.
Oh yeah.
It's, I just saw that and I had to bring that to your attention. My wife and I were talking about it. We're just like, it was jaw dropping. And yeah, I mean, enjoy these games and these tournaments while you can, this playoff, because I think NIL and everything else is going to change the landscape even more. And you're not going to get these Boise type schools in there because they're not going to be able to afford to keep up.
No, our old buddy Mike had to chime in. Cam Ward playing 1/2 was stupid.
Oh, I agree. And you can, I don't know. I mean,
I guess I say a lot of times, since we're going into round 2 of what we've been waiting our whole lives for, and we're old farts.
Yes.
I say a lot it's going to ruin the sport, but I don't know that it's going to ruin the sport. I think that part of the sport's going to get ruined. I think it's going to backfire. I mean, I can't believe Texas Tech agreed to it, because let's say Texas Tech doesn't agree to it because they're never going to win anything in football anyway. This kid he's basically gambling. He's basically playing roulette at a Vegas casino, because he must think some college is going to say yes to this, but what if they all say no to it? So that's where the psychology comes in. There's going to be a handful of Texas Techs and teams desperate to make a name for themselves are going to do it up front. Then they're going to see there's no ROI. There's no return on investment. And then these colleges are going to start talking with each other, because 12 Ounce Sports simulcast with a lot of colleges. We know all the athletic directors talk to each other, and they're going to say, we're losing money because one player wants $700,000 and plane tickets and cars. And I think that's going to be the end of it. I think all these colleges are going to start saying no. And then this player is not going to have anywhere to play. I mean, but it's going to take a while to get to that. So we're going to have 10 years of mess until we get to that.
It makes me yearn for the days of the movie Blue Chips when the guy got a tractor and $30,000 in his backyard, and and Nick Nolte ended up walking away from it at the season. El Hefe, this has been a blast, man. Thank you for coming on tonight and being a part of this. Maybe if we can find the time, we'll get you back on for the semifinals. We can preview those if you're up for it.
I'll come on ACHA, Cap. I don't know if you know, but we have 100% track record of going over time. I join you, so
we could go on forever. Hey, ACHA, how about that game with UNLV against Denver the other night?
So since we're going to talk about that, first of all, I'm a huge ACHA fan. You and I did a tournament, a Central Region tournament. Then my co-host and lifelong best friend on Thursday night's show is a huge college guy that lives near Canton, Michigan.
Okay.
So I'm well-versed in ACHA. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know you were calling that game. I was so excited that an ACHA team beat an NCAA team.
I wish that was me. That was
That sounds just like you.
Well, what happened was on that Twitter thing, that was it is so ironic. The guy that scored that shootout goal, I called his game. He scored the game winner in the national tournament last year, right?
Okay.
And the beauty of AI, this guy that was my co-host superimposed it on that call. Because he said, you got to check this tweet out. And I went on there, I'm like, holy shit, there it is. And Del Monte scored both of them. And it was a shocker when they won the game winner last year against, I think it was against Minot State, who's an ACHA power. But it's going to do, that has opened up so many eyes with that win, because not only, and, I've heard people say, well, it was this exhibition. No, Denver's got 13 NHLers on that team, prospect. Yeah. And
well, AI fooled me because I thought you were actually calling that. I'm
I wish I would have been.
Tell me he was calling this game.
No. Even though the next night they got beat 8-0, but against Colorado College. But
nobody remembers that.
Nope, not at all.
Hey, so real quick,
because
you have ACHA, don't forget to mention on your show, and I want to mention to our viewers now, a week from tomorrow, 12 Ounce Sports Network is going to be a Roku app where we have several channels, not just 12 Ounce Sports content. We have several channels. If you want to join us, be a channel on a TV guide on Roku and soon to be Fire Stick. I'm telling you, all these ACHA teams are perfect for a channel. Your league, your show, whatever. That's my spiel.
We'll be in touch on that. I've got some ideas for that for sure.
Nice.
All right, El Hefe. Enjoy the games. Happy New Year. Thanks again for joining us. Enjoy the kielbasa and the sauerkraut. And wow, this has been fun. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Enjoy the games coming up. Tomorrow night is the first one, and then 3 on Wednesday. Tomorrow night, Penn State and Boise kick it off. And then, of course, Alabama and Michigan with a rematch tomorrow at high noon. Take Alabama in the points. They're going to crush Michigan. I'm telling you right now. Milroe is going to have 400 yards passing. So, anyways, that's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. This reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving. And as always, keep your minds open. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you real soon here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on 12 Ounce Sports. So long.
Peace.